This is the Eat Well, Think Well, Live Well podcast. I'm Lisa Salisbury, and this is episode 152, Why Staying Consistent Feels So Hard and What to Do About It. Welcome to Eat Well, Think Well, Live Well, the podcast for busy women who want to lose weight without constantly counting, tracking, or stressing over every bite. I'm Lisa Salisbury, a certified health, weight loss, and life coach, and most importantly, a recovered chronic dieter. Here, you'll learn to listen to your body and uncover the reasons you're reaching for food when you're not truly hungry, freeing you to focus on a healthier, more fulfilling approach to eating. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. This episode tackles why consistency is such a struggle, especially when we're trying to do all the right things, right? In air quotes. So I asked you in my most recent content survey, what feels most true in your health journey? And the number one response was, I struggle being consistent with all the things I'm supposed to be doing. If you didn't fill out the survey, it was a multiple choice. And that one was the one that everyone except for one person clicked yes on. It was a multiple choice where you could choose everything that felt like was true for you. And so I was like, okay, wow, let's start there with some content, because clearly staying consistent or feeling like you are struggling with consistency is something that you, as the listener, you're definitely thinking about that. So first of all, let me just say you're not broken, and clearly you're not the only one. Most of the time, this is just called being a human. Women feel like they lack consistency, and when they do, they feel like this is a personal failure. But I promise it's not. If you want to be more consistent than you are, let's just start by saying it's not helpful to label yourself as lazy or unorganized or fill in the blank other mean thing you call yourself. This is usually just a systems issue. So I'm going to talk about four different reasons, or four big reasons. I kind of call them like personality types of what I see when consistency breaks down. So if you're having trouble staying consistent, see if one of these personality types rings true for you. All right, number one is the go big or go home girl. You start way too big. You set 5 goals at once. You're going to fix your meal plan. You're going to drink your water, exercise, meditate, sleep more. And it's overwhelming, especially if that meal plan is something altogether different than what you currently do. And if the only thing you drank in the last month was Diet Coke, and you probably hate the gym, right? This is classic go big or go home. You want to overhaul everything at one time, and then you wonder why you can't stay consistent. Number two is the all or nothing achiever. This person thinks if it's not perfect, it doesn't count. If we can't do it all perfectly, we quit, we delay. This is you if you miss one workout or one meal and you're like, well, this week is shot. I'll have to wait again. I'll have to start over. I'll have to restart on Monday. This is such a bummer of a mentality when it's coupled with the starting too big, because then you're just like never going to get there, right? Okay, number three is the idealist planner. You have unrealistic expectations. You plan for versions of yourself who is never tired and never distracted. We even sometimes plan for that version that doesn't have kids or other responsibilities, or just doesn't take them into account. I'm the queen of I've got time. If you're familiar with the opening scene in the original Incredibles, where Mr. Incredible keeps stopping to help people because he looks at his watch and he's like, I've got time. And he's literally like on his way to his wedding. It's an unrealistic expectation that I can do 17 things in the morning prior to getting to the gym for my workout. Whenever I say, oh, I've got time, I remind myself, I am not Mr. Incredible, and I need to have more realistic expectations. As much as I'd love to be Helen Parr and have ultimate flexibility, I'm not a superhero. And if you are an idealist planner, you might think that you are. Okay, and number four is the should-er. That's SHOULD-er. This is the shame-based motivation person. You live in the land of should. You should eat clean. You should work out. You should be better. You try to stay consistent because you should, not because you want to. This is the worst, right? When our internal dialogue takes over with all of those shoulds. You should be able to get all this done. You should be able to stick with things. And especially get shameful when it's coupled with the you should because she does, right? Comparison is never helpful. This isn't an episode on comparison, but it truly is the thief of joy. So if you find yourself using that phrase a lot, I should be able to do this. And especially, it's funny because it gets a little meta here. It's like, I should be consistent. And then you're not consistent. It's, it gets really tricky. Okay, let's now see what works better. I've identified these 4 kind of personality types. So you're probably going to see yourself in more than one. So as I go through some of the solutions to these, note what might work best for you based on which combination you feel like you see yourself. All right, so if you are that big starter, right, the go big or the go home, you are the one that plans to overhaul your entire life in one sitting. What could work better here? Obviously, I think I'm going to say start smaller. But the tricky part is you're a person who doesn't see value in that. You're a go big or go home person, right? I mean, I personally love that meme that's like, wait, are you telling me if we don't go big, I can go home? So that's not you though. You're like all in on the like, gotta do it all. If you're struggling to stay consistent with this personality, and honestly, I know you are, since, everyone that responded, like I said this was an issue, then you have to take a good long look at what you are valuing. If you are someone who doesn't see the value in small steps, I want you to step back into what you might see through a baby's eyes, right? Not through them, but like the caretaker actually. So if you have children, or if you've been around children, if you have nieces or nephews, think about how excited you were when that child just barely started to attempt to roll over. Like you're the parent, you're like cheering and calling your husband in or calling your mom and being like, yeah, she almost rolled over today. You could see how hard she was trying and pushing up, and it'll probably be really soon. If you've not experienced this, you can like Google what it looks like. It's actually funny when babies are trying to do this, but it's actually pretty exciting for the parent because it's like such a small step, but you can see they're really trying and they're about to succeed. If you could break down your goals into this small of steps and cheer for each step, imagine how much farther along you might be now. If you hadn't gone home, so to speak, every time the going big didn't work, imagine where you'd be. So I want you to pick the smallest, like almost able to roll over step and start there. Start seeing the value in the attempts even. If you feel like you want to work on nutrition and exercise and meditation in one go, then each one has to be very small. If you want to just focus on one aspect, then the steps could be a little bit bigger. Let me give you some starter examples here. So for nutrition, you could just focus on fiber. How can I get up to 25 grams of fiber in a day? Don't worry about any other aspects then until that part is dialed in and you are consistently meeting your fiber goal. That might feel small to some, like, no, I have to fix my whole diet. That might feel big to you. If it's big to you, break it down even further. But after you're consistent with that, then start working on something else. Maybe then you're going to start working on reducing your sugar intake. Or after you're up to your 25 grams of fiber a day, then you'll take a look at your snacking habits. For exercise, instead of going from nothing to 6 days a week at the gym, start with getting out on a walk, maybe 3 days a week. Practice leaving the house for exercise before you start taking on an entirely new gym routine. If you're not accustomed to leaving the house to exercise, going to the gym is going to be huge. So just start with going out of your house for a walk. If you're already a consistent exerciser, but you want to add a component, say add in strength training if you already have dialed in your cardio, again, just start small with a few 30-minute sessions per week rather than a full 5-day routine. If you're still feeling like you aren't staying consistent with these steps, go even smaller until you can do that, then increase. So you could start with just getting 8 grams of fiber at breakfast. Just worry about breakfast. well, not worry, but, focus on, right? And then we're not focusing on the rest of the day until that meal is dialed in. So I just took that 25 grams of fiber in a day and brought it down to just one meal. Same thing can be done with exercise, meditation, sleep, all of the things. You can just bring it down into the very first, very smallest step. Stop adding these big steps until you are doing a great job with the small ones and celebrate those as much as you would that baby rolling over. Okay. So again, I know this is going to be really hard, since if you are that go big or go home person, it's hard for you to see the value in small steps. But if you can think about small steps that are worth celebrating, if the baby rolling over doesn't resonate for you, think of the smallest thing that you've celebrated in. I just think that children often are good examples for this, because they are doing smaller things than adults are sometimes, little ones. But look for those examples in your life and see where the smallest things are that you can celebrate, and try to implement them in some of the things that you are trying to be consistent on. Okay, let's talk about the all or nothing achiever. What would work better here than constantly starting over? Nothing feels like you aren't good with consistency as the constant starting over. So the first thing I want you to do is get rid of the idea that one missed meal or one missed workout means you aren't consistent. We've got to throw out the idea that consistency is the same thing as perfection. That's the huge difference here. So if this is you, I want you to start redefining success. Showing up imperfectly still counts as consistency. Showing up imperfectly is still success. So success for you will not be getting everything right the first time, but for you, it's tools like the very next bite. When something goes awry with your eating, instead of thinking, okay, well, now I have to start over, which implies the lack of consistency, I want you to think about what would be on plan for your very next bite. I often find clients overeat at night, whether that's dinner or after dinner, and so their very next bite will be breakfast. So what would be a breakfast you would eat if you were being quote unquote consistent? That's what you eat for your very next bite, and you just move on. You are showing up consistently for yourself by getting back on track on the very next bite. So this doesn't mess with your all or nothing, right? It's just imperfectly showing up. Yesterday, my husband and I, we were the chaperones for a river rafting trip for my daughter's girls' church youth group. And we left really early in the morning and spent the day in the sun. Super fun. We had a great time. No one on our boat fell in, thankfully, since it was on the Truckee River, which is essentially just fed by snowmelt here in the Sierra Nevadas. I live in Northern California, if you don't know me. So it's like 60 degrees in the water. So it was chilly when we were going through the rapids and you were getting like fully drenched. But anyway, Mondays are normally a lifting day for me. And I wasn't going to get up at 5 a.m. to lift before this trip. That's just not, that's not an option for me. I won't function if I have to get up that early. So if I'm an all or nothing person, what happens then to my week of exercise when I miss that lift on Monday morning? You might just scrap the whole week or try to make up for that missed workout or get confused on what you should do for workouts for the rest of the week. But here's what I did. Here's what I propose that you do. Just do your regular Tuesday workout. Like you just come home from the trip and Tuesday morning, you just do your regular Tuesday workout and then on with the rest of the week. So tomorrow I'm going to go ahead and lift weights like I usually do on Wednesdays. So this morning, Tuesday, I went out on a walk. That's what I do on Tuesday mornings. So I'm still consistent. I'm still doing the things, but it's okay to miss a day here and there and call this imperfect consistency. The other way we can show up consistently is to do a shorter workout than planned. So that this wouldn't still have been, an option for me in the morning, like in this example. But if, for example, you find yourself waking up late or running into traffic and your workout time gets cut from 45 minutes to 35 or 25 minutes, still do it. Still do what you can. Some is better than none, and this still counts as consistency. Okay, the third one is the idealist planner. Remember, this is the person who makes plans for the perfect version of herself, but those plans don't really hold up in real life because they're based on the best case scenarios. So for you, I recommend that we start planning for your real energy, your real schedule, and your real mood, and then build in backups even then. Right? Even if you're trying to plan more realistically, because especially at first, especially as an idealist, you won't really be very realistic at first. So planning in the backups is a good insurance policy. So as an idealist, you may not feel like you can be consistent because no matter what you plan, something or someone always gets in the way. And that's because you aren't planning for the somethings or the someones. For example, if you have a work task that you think will take 30 minutes, but you end up having to bring that work home where your kids are, then you have to plan for it to take an hour. It's not the kids' fault, and it's not your fault that it takes longer when they are around. They just have needs, and you want to meet those needs, and so work will take longer. This is realistic, not idealistic on how long tasks will take. If you are a stay-at-home mom or a work-from-home woman all the time, you also need to plan extra time. I think we are quick as moms to say, I couldn't get the thing done because of the kids. But that's because we aren't planning things as if they won't interrupt. They will. We just got to plan for it, right? You might also plan your days based on a follicular phase of your cycle day. And then when that task comes along and it's actually a luteal phase day or even a bleed day, and you're like, great, I'm not a consistent person because your energy in the luteal phase does not match the energy in the follicular phase. So what's really happening is you weren't planning for the actual energy level on the day the task was going to be done. So when it's something that has to be done every day of the month, like eating, you want to be aware of your energy levels, your time constraints, and different scheduling demands, and plan for those accordingly. My perimenopause cycle is all over the place. I am literally just coming off of a 12-day cycle, which was super fun when my period started again after just 12 days after my last one. But anyway, I digress. If that's you and your cycle is completely unpredictable, then you'll just have to listen to your body each day. And as much as I described above my typical workout days, if I don't sleep well or I wake up to the start of a period a week or more before I expected and it's a menstrual migraine day, I will absolutely be changing up my workout routine if I need to. This is not inconsistency. This is kindness and planning for your actual energy level, not your ideal. Of course, we'd like our lives to run smoothly, but every day is not best case scenario, and that doesn't mean you aren't consistent. You are adjusting to your human body and to living with other humans. So we want to just give ourselves grace in these moments when we are, planning and things go awry. So if you are an idealist planner, really time to step back from that and taking a look at what is really the truth about how your days go. Okay, and lastly, we have that should-er. Honestly, I think this one shows up in all the other ones as well, because the should-er woman is someone who might do what you should do, not what you want to or actually value, and then you end up in just a place of dishonesty with yourself. For you, it will be important to be radically honest about what you want to do. Note, I didn't say what you are capable of doing. I think sometimes my idealist planners have a lot of things to do, but they don't really want to do all of them. So this should mentality really shows up for them as well. If you are a should-er, you are likely trying to force yourself into change through pressure, not desire. And so you can't possibly stay consistent. For you, the activity here is getting clear on your why. Now, I know that is such a coachy thing to say, and I really try to stay out of the industry language as much as possible so that it's really clear. for you, the listener, on what to do. But honestly, the truth is that sometimes it's industry language because it's already clear and it does work. When you get clear on why the habit matters to you, not just why it should matter, you will be way more likely to stick with it. You guys hear my core why statement all the time as, if you're like a faithful listener, but I'll give it to you again. And especially if you might be new around here, this is my why for engaging in most of the health promoting behaviors that I do. I want to be an influence for good on my grandchildren. So the reason this is my why statement is because being an influence for good means that first and foremost, I have a relationship with them. This means my mind is sharp and I can communicate with them how they want to be communicated with. And notice I reference my grandchildren here, which is far, far away for me. My oldest child is 26 years old, so it's not like he's not in, a possible, and he's married. So, but they just don't have plans to have children anytime soon. And I am in no way pressuring them, nor do I ever ask them about it. So I anticipate it being some time for me, and then some time until, they can talk and walk and do all the things. So this means that this is how I'm aging. This is indicative of what it's going to look like for me in 10, 15, and 20 years. So I mentioned this is keeping my mind sharp so I can communicate with them how they want to be communicated with. So that may be FaceTime calls, but there also probably will be something new by then, something like Marco Polo or Snapchat, those types of apps. But whatever the app is when they are teenagers will be different than what's available now. So I need to keep my mind sharp so I can communicate with them. I also want to be physically strong, to be able to pick up my luggage and go get on an airplane to go and see them. I anticipate that my children will not live close by me, and if I need to go visit them on a plane, I want to be able to do that. If they do live close, then I want to be physically strong to climb the bleachers and watch the games and go to the t-ball and go to the volleyball games and go to the dancing recitals. Being with them and focusing on having a relationship with my grandchildren also tells me my relationship with my children is strong, and for all of these same reasons. I'm physically strong, I'm mentally strong, I'm present with them. I could go on and on more, but see how this one sentence of my why, this one thing encompasses my mental, my physical, and even for me, my spiritual health. When you find your own why, you will be less likely to rely on your shoulds. Because you know what you want to do, not out of obligation, but because it's what you truly want to do. These things are true to your core self. If at this point you have things you know are truly important to you, but something else is getting in the way of consistency, you might also have to revisit one of the other personality types I identified before. So for me, I don't tend to be this should person. I tend to be pretty clear on my why, but I know that I'm a little bit of the idealist planner for sure. That's me. So I gave you some examples of how I'm not that, but that's really just something I'm working on. So overall, just remember that many plans are made when we are feeling motivated, but motivation wanes and doesn't really fuel consistency. The emotions that fuel consistency for all of these personality types are commitment, confidence, and curiosity. That's commitment to our why, confidence to carry on even when it's not perfect, and curiosity to figure out why something isn't working. These are the emotions to cultivate when you feel like you aren't being consistent. And in fact, these are the 3 big C's, my favorite emotions to cultivate for almost any situation. The more consistent you are, even when it's imperfect, not quite as we planned, or it's just that very tiny step, the more you'll build self-trust. This is when we say we'll do something and we do, it builds our belief and then trust. When we constantly break our word to ourselves, often unintentionally, but we are usually the first person we cancel on, it chips away at that belief. Self-trust is really, truly like a muscle. You build it with these small repetitions, not grand gestures. So This week, I want you to choose one thing to be consistent with first. Start small. Even if you're not that go big or go home girl, I still want you to start small. With any of these personality types, starting with a very small goal and getting consistent on that builds that self-trust. We start to believe that, hey, we do what we say we're going to do, and then we can add on from there. So use planning as a tool for confidence, not control over yourself, but just to build confidence and self-trust. And then, of course, celebrate completion, not perfection. Celebrate continuing on, even if it wasn't perfect. If something in today's episode made you think differently or gave you that little nudge that you needed, that's exactly why I do this. And if you're ready to take it further, I'd love to support you. Start with a couple of my freebies. Number one, if you're considering GLP-1 medication, I have a brand new GLP-1 Success Starter Kit. GLP-1s are a great tool to assist you with your weight loss. And so I've developed a program that is specifically for people who are on these medications. So check out that Success Starter Kit. It's free. It'll give you an idea of how I'm going to coach you and how it might be a little bit different if you maybe have even been a past client or checked me out before, but now you're using medication. I have really added that a lot to my repertoire and developed a new coaching program for you. If medication is not up your alley, but you notice that you're overeating too many times in a week to see lasting weight loss, then grab my What to Do When You Overeat course. This has a reset and recover guide and a video series that goes with it and just helps you figure out how to reduce your overeats and not beat yourself up about it. Of course, you can also schedule a free consult session to see if my one-on-one coaching programs are right for you. All the links are in the show notes. Remember, it's not just about the food, it's about empowering yourself with choices that truly serve you. Have a great week, and as always, thanks for listening and sharing the Eat Well, Think Well, Live Well podcast.